Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words. Let's get some Legacy on, shall we? So today I'm playing a deck that I've never really played before, mainly because it's very expensive to play in paper, purely because it has Gaia's Cradles in, and I didn't get them before they were cheap enough to buy, so I never really got into this deck. But I think it's a great deck, and because it's online now, I'm online, I can play this deck without having to worry about the costs. So here we are. What does this deck want to do? This deck wants to play a bunch of elves, and then it wants to either over on your opponent with a Craterhoof Behemoth, or over on your opponent with an Allosaurus Shepherd, which is this guy down here. So you pay 6, and all your guys become massive. He also means that your spells can't be countered, so you can get around things like Chalice of the Void nicely. You've got a few techie engines of the Heritage Druid making mana with Nettle Sentinel. Whenever you cast a spell, you untap the Nettle Sentinel, so you can get more mana along the line. Then you have the Wildwood Symbiote, and the Quirion Dranger between them. It lets you untap lands and bounce creatures, and basically means that some of your key pieces are harder to remove, as well as giving you more dips at looking at mana or drawing cards off of an Elvish Visionary. There's a few other nice spicy ones. So you've got Green Sun Zenith, which can find you a Singleton Grist if you need to remove a problem permanent, and the Progenitus, which I guess you can get a Green Sun Zenith for, but generally this is if you don't have a lot going on, no velocity or momentum, not a lot on the board, but you do have green creatures and 4 mana, you go and get a 10-10 and hope they can win the game. I don't think this is the best in this slot, but I'm just taking a list from somebody who's 5-0'd who clearly has played the deck more than me, because everyone has. The new tech in this deck is Leaf Crown Visionary, which lets you draw cards when you play elves, and it pumps your elves, which is going to be good in post-sideboard games against black decks that have things like Plague Engineer to worry about. Let's look at the sideboard. Leyline of the Void seems like an important one, given the fact that there's a lot of Reanimator about at the moment. Thoughtseize, just to poke holes in combo decks that can race you. Dismembers, we want to be able to kill creatures sometimes, and then we have a few silver bullets here. Some elf decks that I've seen are running the Collector Roof in the main deck. This one is offering to put it in the sideboard, which seems fine. This deck wants to do its thing in game 1 and then pivot in game 2. Endurance for more Graveyard Hate, so effectively you've got 6 turn 0 Graveyard Hate pieces for Reanimator. Elvish Spirit Guide is for decks where you need to go faster and you don't have as much interaction as you'd like, so I would imagine this would be for something like Storm, and obviously Reclamation Sage. Sometimes you've got to blow up an artifact. I think that's about it, so we're going to hop into a league now. Alright, we're into round 1, and this is my hand. I'm on the play. So what does this hand do? This hand has a draw engine, it has a 1-drop, has a Wildwood Symbiote. I think I have to keep this hand, although the Dryad Arbor doesn't look great here, if I'm being perfectly honest, because this isn't a cast, this isn't something you cast, so you don't even get a card off of a Glimpse of Nature. So I'm not convinced on the Dryad Arbor particularly. There is an option that maybe I have to lead off on the Dryad Arbor here. I think we keep this to try out. Like I said, I've not played elves, so let's give this a go. So because we're on the play, I think we can just play out the Dryad Arbor and then have access to 2 mana on the next turn. Our opponent has mulliganed to 6 cards, which doesn't mean anything at this point. If they were going lower, then it would be possible that they were some sort of combo deck that requires certain pieces. So we're playing out the Dryad Arbor on turn 1. Okay, an Island Ponder. This could be an unfair deck or it could be a fair deck. I'm more inclined to believe it's a fair deck because it's a basic island. Okay, so we had the other land that we wanted. So we have choices here. I think we can draw 2 cards next turn, or we can just play the Leaf Crowned Visionary and go from there. We're already exposed to Wasteland, so I'm going to play out the Bayou, I think. I'm just going to play this out, which might hit a daze. But I think if it sends our opponent back on tempo, it's fine, because next turn we can still draw a load of cards. Obviously, we want to be able to draw more cards than we have access to now, but we will see. Okay, so we managed to stick the Leaf Crowned Elder. Okay, a main phase Brainstorm before they played a land, which means they might be digging for a land, which would not be unheard of given they kept a 6-card hand with Ponder Brainstorm in. they appear to be brainstorm locked, which is good for us, but not so great for our opponent, or for the quality of the action you're going to see. So we're going to play this out, and we're going to go fetch a basic forest. So what we can do here is we can just cast some elf creatures and draw cards fairly. I cast this with this. I would like to yield to this. And I will pay a green. Okay. And then we will use our other green mana to play this symbiote. And then we will be able to attack for 1 this turn. So I consider elves to be a combo deck. But it is a combo deck that has a very solid plan B of just beating down. But generally you want to sort of... it's definitely more of a fair deck than it used to be in some ways, because you can win with just Gaia's Cradle and the Allosaurus Shepherd, which is something you didn't have access to before. You kind of had to combo into Craterhoof in a lot of matchups, but now you can beat down a lot more effectively. And I think this Lord will also help do that. Okay, our opponent is stuck on 1 land, so we're not going to see much of their hand, unfortunately. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is interesting to see. That gives us some information. I think we play this, have this, and we'll play this. The reason I'm playing this before attacking with the Net Center is in case I draw another Leaf Crowned Elder. Always yes to trigger ability from Natural Sentinel. Yes, I'd like to pay green. Okay, so because we didn't draw this thing this time, we're going to attack now. I think we just want to attack with all creatures here. So next time we can untap with Grist if we want to. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Have 9 damage next turn. So our opponent with Favour of the Mirror Breaker, Ponder Brainstorm. This is leading me to think we're looking at maybe some sort of... It could just be like a value deck, so it could be like Grixis value, or it could be a Show and Tell deck running Favour of the Mirror Breaker, which is not completely wild, but it could happen. So I think what we're probably going to want here is some amount of Thoughtseize here. Now there is an option of boarding into something to deal with the graveyard, because I don't know what sort of graveyard hate they're going to have, what sort of graveyard stuff they're going to have, because if they're discarding cards with Fable of the Mirror Breaker, it's not out of the realms of possibility that they have a way of leveraging their graveyard. Now, what else do we have here? Reclamation Sage can hit the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Endurance is just a solid guy against control decks anyway, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. The Collector Roof can obviously interact with opponents' treasure tokens. So I think we're probably just looking at 3 for now, and then we'll board in more if we need to. So a red-blue deck is probably not going to be able to deal with a Progenitus very easily. So now we need to do what are we boarding out? Now that is the tricky one for me. I suspect it's probably something like Once Upon a Time, since that's sort of not a filler spell, it kind of draws things together, but I think that's the most likely cut. What else do we think we can do without this game? Natural Orders against the blue deck might prove slightly more challenging to answer, which means maybe I should be cutting these 2. I think that's probably going to be okay. We'll try this, and then if we need to go into game 3, we can reassess, because we don't really know much about our opponent's deck. We're just sort of trying to pick apart the little things we have seen without really interfering with our core too much. Whilst the red-blue deck might not be able to answer this, they can definitely answer the Natural Order to find it, which is why I've cut it. So this is our opening hand. Our opponent has kept their hand. So what does this do? So I can mana ramp on turn 1, into Thoughtseize, Birchlaw Rangers, Wirewood Symbiote. That's an option. Or I can hold the Zenith for the Allosaurus. I think we keep this hand though. So I think we might even start out with a Thoughtseize in case they are some sort of show and tell deck like I thought they possibly could be. We'll at least know how we're going to play around the rest of the game if we see their hand first. Now the one thing that we could get caught by here is a Stifle. Now I'm going to play into it. I don't realistically think I can play into... I can play the Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, but I think it's better to get the Thoughtseize, and the chance they run the Stifle was relatively low, so we're going to crack this. Okay, so we'll get a Bayou. And we'll add black. We'll cast a Thoughtseize target on our opponent. Okay, so they're brainstorming away some of their hands, so we might not be able to know what they are necessarily after we see their hand. Okay, so they finished resolving their brainstorm. Okay, so this looks very much like a show and tell deck to me. So this looks like sneak and show. So we have options here. We can... I don't think hitting the mana acceleration is going to be particularly useful. What we can do here is we can, if we take the Emrakul, it's going to shuffle the top cards of their library, so we're going to know what they're working with. So I think we take the Emrakul here, and that does expose us to a top deck thing, so they can draw into show and tell. I think we still take the Emrakul. If we take out the threats, that's the best we can do. Next turn we can take out their other threats and deploy a creature. I think we want to save the Green Sun Zenith for something like the tutoring for the Allosaurus Shepherd. Okay. That's two of the cards we know. Did they draw off the top? Fable the Mirror Breaker. Sure. That's fine. Okay, so we have a natural order, which is nice. So we can take out the other threat this turn. And we can also... What's the other play here? So if we play Yavimaya, we can play either our Wirewood Symbiote or our Birchlaw Rangers. Or we can Green Suns for a Dried Arb. I think we'll probably do that. So we're going to... This might have actually been a game where the Progenitors would have been good, actually, thinking about it. But don't always know. So we take the other threat. So we don't have that. So they've just got a Lotus Petal and an Otawara. Okay, so now, because we have the natural order, I'm more happy to cast this for one. And get a Dried Arbor out of our deck. Yep, I think that'll do for now. And then next turn, if we want to, we can hit the Fable of the Mirror Breaker to stop them getting Kiki's Reflection, if that's the thing we're worried about. Alternatively, we can, if we draw a land, we can just cast a natural order. Obviously, it's not going to get us anything too exciting, so we need to deploy some more threats first. So what do they discard? They discard a Lotus Petal, and they're getting this guy here. So they're building up to a show and tell. I'm not going to block. They're building up to a sneak attack as well, sorry. It definitely feels like a sneak attack rather than an Omniscience build because they have the Archons. Okay, so what we do here is we'll play this out. We will add green, add green, add green. I'm going to play this Reclamation Stage, and we're going to blow up the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, I think, here. There is an option to blow up the Treasure Token, but again, they can just make more. So I think it's better to hit the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, because this could have some sort of horrific interactions with Fury or something like that. I don't want to get stung by Fury. Yes, I would like to use Reclamation Sage's ability. Then we can play green and play a Birchlaw Rangers. And then we can tap 2 untapped elves to make green, to play a Wirewood Symbiote. So we can rebuy the Reclamation Sage if we need to. Also, next turn, if we draw a land, we should be able to... Well, if we... This would be 5... Yeah, so we can natural order next turn for a decent chunk. They do have potentially Otawara here. But I don't think we need to worry about that too much. I think we need to be worried more about what is going on in their hand, aside from the stuff to keep me at bay. It's if they're playing spells here. Okay. 3. What have we got here? Show and tell. Okay. I don't have any of these to put in. It's a Grizzlebrand. Okay. So this is an interesting one. If they draw cards here, they're looking to hit into a way of interacting with the natural order I'm offering. But if they don't have a way of interacting with natural order, okay, so they've got the Fury, which is definitely a big problem for us here. So they're going to deal a lot of damage to our creatures here. So what is our plan here? Let's see what they target. Okay, so let the evoke resolve. So doing 1 damage to everything. So I would like to return an elf. I think we return the Reclamation Sage probably. I can only activate this once a turn, so everything else dies. So there's the Fury that we were worried about before. I think we're probably dead here. It's going to be a tricky one. I could have bounced the Reclamation Sage and got a free blowing up of that, but then it would have died to the Fury. So I'm pretty sure we're dead here. Let's just cast this. Blow that up. And our opponent's going to hit us for 7, possibly 9 this turn, unless they can pull something else out. So what are we drawing here? So we draw a Gaia's Cradle and play out our guy, then Gaia's Cradle tap for 2, 3, 4. I can play my guy and I can swing for not enough damages. Okay, we get to play this guy out. That's not very helpful. Okay, I think we're dead here. So let's have a think about how we want to address this matchup now. So the Thoughtseizers are correct to come in. The Progenitus seems like it's going to be good here because if they show and tell, I can put it in. Collector Roof will deal with treasure tokens and Lotus Petals, which are basically treasure tokens. The Spirit Guide will help me play around Daisies if that's a thing I want to worry about. And the Natural Order feels less good still. Because I need to resolve a spell. But if I make them use Force of Will, then they've got less blue cards in their hand, which means possibly pitching Show and Tell. Now, what would I want to take out here? So I don't think we're going to have the time to leverage the Leaf Crown Visionaries. I think this is more for grindier matchups, to be honest. And then it's a case of, do I actually want the Elvish Spirit Guides? I think they're probably good here because it lets me jump ahead of the curve slightly. Grist can blow up a creature or a planeswalker, so this can't blow up the things we need to worry about, so I think we get Grist out of here. And then it leaves us with which of these remaining things we want to bin off. I don't think we want to get rid of any of our engine, to be honest. So then we're looking at which of these, because if they show and tell and put in like a Grizzlebrand or something, then my Progenitus can just swing through it and it means they can't draw cards. So I think the Progenitus is good. The case of, do I want this Natural Order? Or do I want to trim something else? This is a tricky one. I don't think I can get rid of any of this early stuff here at all. So I think it's probably got to be... the Elvish Visionary is probably going to be too slow in this match. Like, it'll help me rebuild after Fury. But I think if that's the case, I think we've probably already lost. Once the deck gets on top, I think they'll just be able to keep us down relatively well. Because they only need to keep us off for a couple of turns while doing their silly thing. So we're going to go with this. And we're going to submit. I'm on the play as well, so I should be able to go fast. We can't keep this, so we mulligan. This has got a little bit of disruption. It's got some mana ramp. It does stuff. So we will keep this, and we have to return one of these cards. Return a forest, untap a creature is probably going to be less important than a Wirewood Symbiote here. But we kind of need the ability to make all of our elves. So I think it's tricky. This will let me replay forests. This will let me replay elves. I think we're more in the market for replaying elves. This could be wrong. Again, I said at the top, I'm not what you would describe as an elf player. So the options here, I think we play out the Nettle Sentinel on 1, because the chances of them being able to show and tell on turn 1 are very low. So this just gives us a slightly better way of dealing them damage early on. So we'll play this, Thoughtseize, play a green creature, untap our guy. And then we're going to see slightly more of their cards with the Thoughtseize because we didn't burn off on turn 1. Okay, this does change things slightly, I think. I think we have to play this because they can go off next turn. So we're going to cast this targeting our opponent. We're going to get a Brainstorm off them without fetch down, which would be nice. Let's have a look. Brainstorm, sure. So then we'll attack and we'll make the Quirion Ranger, I think. I don't think we want to waste this on getting a Dryad Arbor. I think that we have better targets like Allosaurus Shepherd here. Okay, let's see what we've Thoughtseize the way. So they're going to have a load of big guys, or are they going to... Okay, they're going to Force of Will that Thoughtseize. That's very scary. That gives me the impression that they can kill me next turn, which is bad. So we'll attack. This matchup feels like it should be in the favour of the show and tell player most of the time. So we're going to play this one out. Yes, using our Sentinel's ability. And then next turn, we can make 3 mana, 4 mana. So we can... So if they're just going to play out a cold... Okay. As I was going to say, if they were just going to play out a cold sacrifice creature, I think this is probably the one we sacrifice. If they were just going to play out a cold sneak attack, then I could go and choose to get the thing to hit it. But sadly, that's not the case. Let's have a look. What do we need here? A natural order. So we're 1 mana short of being able to natural order for anything useful here. So I think we probably just lost this round. This matchup feels pretty horrible, especially when they have Fury on top of all the other things they have already. So we're going to lose 2 cards this turn. And then next turn, we're going to be dead. So we're basically just looking at what the top card of my library is, which I'm assuming is not going to be enough to do anything. But I've got ages on my clock. I may as well have another look at my deck. Like I said, I'm completely unfamiliar, but I don't know what I could possibly have here. Obviously, I don't have Grist to deal with these anymore. I don't think trying to deal with the resolved threats is how you beat show and tell. I think we're just going to concede here. Oh, nope. Are they going to... Okay, there we go. Magus of the Moon. That doesn't make any difference to us, I don't think. Glimpse of Nature. Nope, we got nothing. Okay, that's the end of the game. So that was a loss against the matchup that felt pretty difficult to win, I would say, because I'm not really sure what the Elf deck's supposed to do about that. I don't think you can realistically race even with the Elvish Spirit Guides. On to the next round. Okay, we're into round 2, and our opening hand has no 1-drops, and just 2-drops and 4-drops. So I don't think you can keep this on, especially not on the... I don't think at all, but especially on the draw, I'm just not going to do anything for a long time. So I'm going to mulligan. This hand is weak to Wasteland, but aside from that, it has a lot of ability to draw out and do things. So I think we're going to put back one of these glimpses. I don't think we need 2 glimpses here. Especially when our elves cost 2 mana, I don't think having glimpses is going to be too useful here. Okay, so mountains, so we could be looking at Blood Moon style decks, which would be bad for us. Lava Spike. Okay, it's just straight up burn. Don't see that every day, but here we are. Okay. So they're going to be under a lot of pressure as to whether or not they want to tap my creatures or attack me. So this should be an interesting one. Play out this Bayou. Play out this Nettle Sentinel. This Heritage Druid, sorry. Next turn we can, if we don't draw a land, we can glimpse just to draw a single card, potentially. But we can see where we end up with our draw step before making that decision. So we're going to need to hit another land. So if we don't hit a land, I think it's worth cycling this. Well, sorry, we need to hit a land to cycle this. Sorry, ignore me. So we're very much in hitting a land territory here. Monastery Swift Spear. Sure. It's a peculiar art I've not seen before. So I assume this is going to hit me for 2, and I'm going to take another 3 from some sort of lightning bolt effect. I'm not going to block because I need my creatures for mana. They did not do anything there, which means they're probably playing a 1-drop that doesn't have haste to go alongside it. Or suspending a Rift Bolt. Skewer the critics. Okay, so they needed the prowess. That's fine, so that saves me some damage. So they're starting to aim burn at my creatures, which is taking away from my face. Not ideal, but it's something. So if we play out this Heritage Druid this turn, next time we can play the Birchlaw Rangers and add a green mana if needs be. The reason I'm playing this one out first is because the situation I'm in mana-wise means that having this one less likely to get hit by burn spells is probably better because I don't have 3 elves in play, whereas having 2 elves in play might be a lot more easier for me to handle in the near future. I think we might not draw enough lands to compete in this game though. A Lava Spike, sure. So that puts me to 13, and then the Monastery Swift Spear can crash me down to 11. In comes the Swift Spear. I'm not blocking. I'm just going to take my 2. There could be an instant speed spell to buff it, but there wasn't. Okay, so we're on 11. And they've got 2 cards left in hand. So they're in my upkeep, so they're thinking about hitting my creature perhaps. Okay, so this turn we just play out a Birchlaw Ranger. Not very exciting. I suspect this will attract a lightning bolt of some description because they can see that I'm not drawing any mana sources. I do have some glimpses of nature though, so I've got the ability to just get a little bit more mana than draw up. But I think this turn we are attacking. And then next turn we hope to draw maybe a land, so I can play Elvish Visionary and then tap 3 guys for mana, and then, or I can play the Leaf Crown Visionary and tap 3 for mana, and then draw 2 cards off of an Elvish Visionary, and then hopefully the turn after, if I'm still alive, I can do some sort of draw into some sort of natural order type win. But our opponent's got 3 cards, so we could be looking at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they could well have lethal if they've got Fire Blast and 2 3-drop burn spells, 3 damage burn spells. But again, I haven't had the mana to really compete this game, so it's been unfortunate. Seems unlikely they have all the burn spells because some of them would probably be sorcery speed at this point, I would imagine. It still could be lightning bolts, but okay, so it's more skewer the critics by the looks of it. Or it could just be lands. Hopefully it's just lands. Hopefully they've got nothing but lands in their hand. And then we get to... Because Screw beats Flood, generally speaking. So obviously you don't get as much time in this format as you do in other formats to pull out. But I think we could be We're not out of this game yet. We've only lost half our life total. They're thinking about something quite a lot, so I'm not sure what they are looking at. Surely, if they had lethal, it would be in around a Monastery Swiftspear Pump. Maybe they're thinking about whether or not they wanted to attack my... oh, this is tricky. If they wanted to attack my Birchlaw Rangers to stop me getting mana. A 1 mana elf would have been really helpful here. But I can't get any sort of 1 mana elf. Dryad Arbor is not an elf. So our choice here is probably to attack 2 elves for green. And then spend another green and try an Elvish Visionary. Hoping to draw a land, so maybe we can Green Sun Zenith out for a Dryad Arbor to set up for next turn. Okay, so we hit a land there. Now whether or not I crack this is debatable. That'll put me in range of 3 burn spells. But I think we still do this. Let's cast this. X is 0, we're going to get a Dryad Arbor. It's not a particularly exciting play, but it means that we're live to casting a lot of spells next turn if I get another turn, but also have more bodies in the way, so we can throw the Dryad Arbor under the bus if we need to, because the Elvish Visionary adds 1 mana off of this, so it turns these into mana dorks. So I think it's probably better to block with the Dryad Arbor if I get the chance. And then hopefully next turn I can combo off and draw some cards, draw a Gaia's Cradle, and then just pull through that way. But we shall see. So if there's any spells before attacks, I think we have to block this turn with the Dryad Arbor. We do not have the ability to make red mana right now. So we go to 6. No. So we have 2 cards in hand. So we definitely have to block the Swiftspear this turn, I think. I think this has the most chance of keeping us alive for another draw step. Like if they have 2 lightning bolts, then they have 2 lightning bolts and I lose. But the fact that they use their Fiery Islet to tap makes me think they don't have lands in hand, because you would keep that open if you had lands in hand so you could draw. So I'm suspecting they do have some sort of action. So they're lightning bolting my face. Wait, are they lightning bolting my... Okay, so they're fire blasting. They're lightning bolting my Dryad Arbor after blocks. That feels like a significant error on their part. They had the win and they threw it away. Interesting. I might still be dead even though they did that. So such is life sometimes. So this will let me play an additional land. So I think we're going this turn as best we can. So we're going to cast a Glimpse of Nature. And I think we're going to cast a second Glimpse of Nature. This may be greedy, but I think we have to have a big turn or we're dead anyway. So we've got 3 elves here. And we're going to play this and hopefully find a Gaia's Cradle so we can keep the chain going. Always yield to this. Okay, so if we play out this. Okay, so we have a Crater Hoof Behemoth, so we might be able to win the game if we can generate enough mana here. So Return of Forest, control, untap type creature. I'd like to untap my Heritage Druid and I'll return this forest. Okay, so now I'd like to make 3 mana. 1, 2, 3. And we cast this Elvish Visionary, draw a bunch of cards. Always yield to Nettle Sentinel. Yes, please. Yes, please. Draw some cards. This is not the land I wanted. So if we play an Elvish Visionary here, then we're out of mana, but we have a chance of hitting the Gaia's Cradle, which is what we want here. We didn't have 3 elves to untap this turn. Sure, put them on this order. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. There probably is a way that it does matter, but I would like to use this. Okay, so we've got the Grist. So we can tap 3 elves. So tap this one, and this one. And we're going to cast a 1 mana elf, I think. I'll put these on the stack. So we're just looking for Gaia's Cradle because we haven't played a land yet. Nope, nope. Yes, please. So we have 2 mana, so we can get a 1 mana elf. So we should tap these with Birchlaw Rangers, maybe. No. If we need to cast a creature spell. So I guess we cast this creature spell and that gives us 3 more mana. Sure. This pumps all my elves. Still not found a Gaia's Cradle. Okay, where is Heritage Druid? Tap 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to cast this. I don't think we want to pay anything here. Use Nettle Sentinel, please. Yes. We're not going to pay for this. Because we get to cast a Nettle Sentinel now. And then we get 3. And then we have a load of mana here. Yes, I'd like to do this. Okay. We don't have any. We don't want to use this mana. Okay, so now we can Heritage Druid tap 1, 2, 3, and we can't natural order for that. What we can do is we can cast this green spell here, which digs us 4 cards. We untap those 2. So this finds us an elf, we get to untap some more things. If it finds us a Gaia's Cradle, we win the game, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So each one of these is going to be 11. This one can attack. So that should be enough if I play the Gaia's Cradle. So we tap this. And then we cast Craterhoof Behemoth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As long as I've done the maths correctly, I think we get to kill it this time. Sorry, I need to put these on the stack, don't I? Yes, yes. Okay. Wait, so I made a mistake here. This one doesn't have haste, does it? So this one only attacks for 17. Oh no, I've made a horrible mistake there. Is there a way that I can make this more? Yes, there is. That's fine. I can untap a creature. I can use my Green Sun Zenith. X is 1, so I can use my Green Sun Zenith to untap one of my creatures that isn't summoning sick. So it's the return an elf you control. No, it's the Quirion Ranger, isn't it? Return a forest you control. Untap target creature. Sure. So we're going to return an elf I control. And we're going to untap this Heritage Druid and return this forest. And then we successfully navigated this turn, I think. So we can go to attacks. Okay, sure. So our opponent misplayed, and then I had to go through a lot of rigmarole to get it. So we're going into the next game here. Burn. So what is good against burn decks? This does gain life, I suppose. I think Thoughtseize is a losing proposition here. It can maybe save you one, but you're basically spending a whole mana, which is way too much. Endurances are big guys that can do stuff. Elvish Spirit Guide can accelerate. Is Progenitus quick enough? I don't know. I don't know if the Grist is any good here either. I think the Grist is probably too slow. I think the Leaf Crown Visionary is probably going to be a little bit too slow. I think the Endurances aren't going to be good enough. Scavenger Ooze gaining life is very slow and marginal. I don't think that's going to be worth it either. I think we board in these two and then we try and go fast. We probably trim out one of our... I think this isn't going to be enough time for a Progenitus win. I think we're going to be Crater Hoofing off of Natural Order. So I think this is our setup. So we're just going a little bit faster. Trying to think of what they could be bringing from their sideboard. So they probably have Maddening Hex now, which doesn't really impact my game plan. Blood Moony type effects doesn't really matter. They probably have Fury, which I don't have any tools against here. I just have to play through it. But it does cost them 2 cards. I think this is fine. We get another game if it isn't. So let's see how we can fare versus burn. Okay, so this hand is a little bit slow to begin with, but does let me natural order. So I can turn 1 Green Sun Zenith, turn 2 Birchall Rangers, and then where am I? Doesn't feel like I'm anywhere apart from natural ordering for a big guy, which might be okay. I don't think I'm supposed to keep this one because it's got 3 lands. It does have the Cradle, which is really important. And it does have the ability to win the game out of nowhere. I just need to draw Elves, which is the most abundant thing in my deck. I'm going to keep this and try it. Again, I'm not an Elves aficionado or an Elves player whatsoever. Okay, so we've got Swift Spear on turn 1, which is the best play they have. So I'm going to get hit for 1 this turn. And then I'm going to make a Dryad Arbor. Unless what I draw changes the texture of my hand. No, that doesn't make any difference to me. So we're going to play this. I'm going to cast this. X is 1. X0, 0, sorry. We're going to play this Dryad Arbor. And next time we're going to play Birchlaw Rangers. We can also play Birchlaw Rangers and Verdant Catacombs to make the natural order slightly better. So what we got here? A Goblin Guide. Okay. Additional clocking. Do they have a Chain Lightning or some similar effect to go to my face to pump their Monastery Swift Spear? A Chain Lightning on my Dryad Arbor. Sure. Again, that's saved me 3 damage there. So that's not the end of the world. So we can fetch end of turn with the Verdant Catacombs. I think they just want to keep me off of creatures so I can't natural order into a win. For the top card of my library, which was an Allosaurus Shepherd, which is good. We like Allosaurus Shepherds. It's a creature, isn't it? So what do we make here? Can't actually make the Verdant Catacombs this turn if we want to do that. I think we play Allosaurus Shepherd here. And we play out the Birchlaw Rangers. So we've got 2 creatures. And then Cradle taps for 2 at that point. And then if I get the Dryad Arbor, that will tap for 3 and be enough. But then that's only 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's not enough damage at present. So I need to find another elf on my turn and then not die on their next turn. Okay, so what we're reviewing on top of my library here. A Heritage Druid. Okay, that's a very good draw. I don't think the Monastery Sister was only at 1, so I think we just take it, and they've got 2 cards in hand. So we're taking 5 this turn, so we're going down to 10. So we have to fade their next turn, I think, and then we can win the game. Skewer the critics. Sure, so that puts me to 6. To 7, sorry, which is not 6. So then we get this. Oh, they skewered the critics on one of my creatures. Interesting. So we play out the Verdant Catacombs. So our plan next turn is, if we go and get this end of turn, then we can sacrifice that. And we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So basically we are looking to draw an elf off the top of our library. So can I take 5 when they have 1 card in hand? If it's Fire Blast, I lose any. Yeah, I think I just have to take it on there. I think I just have to take it on their turn. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so they drew a redraw. We can't win if we start blocking creatures here, because every draw step they have would just be bringing me closer to death. So I guess we can see what the Goblin Guides reveal. A Nettle Sentinel. Okay, so that wins me the game next turn if I survive this turn. So I think what we do is take this damage and then hope that they can't kill me. It's a big ask, to be honest. Oh, I forgot to fetch with my Verdant Catacombs at end of turn. That's annoying. And play this. And cast this. So if they have a Fire Blast, we're dead anyway. Dryad Arbor. Play this out. Play this out. Cast this. Sacrifice a green creature. I guess it doesn't really matter which one we sacrifice, does it? Yeah, I made a mistake there, but it should still be alright, I think. Have the 1 creature I needed. So we get the Great Hoof Behemoth. Obviously, they could just be slow rolling me here, which is fine. So this is 1 damage short because I made a misplay. That's a real tilter, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty annoying. So we attack, that's 19. So they didn't take a single point of damage off their Fiery Islet. Yeah, I think we attack for 10 here. Oh, this is really frustrating. And this guy can hold back and block something. And this can block something. No, what mistake. 1 point of damage actually cost me here. Chain Lightning. To me, yep. I cannot play this. Oh, what a... I'm so unused to Modo, I just click through things all the time. It's not the first, nor will it be the last time I've skipped their end step. I say an Allosaurus Shepherd. So that is lethal if I survive. Which seems impossible to do with these creatures. Oh my god. That's so embarrassing. Okay, well, I'm happy with how I boarded at least. I just made a crucial error there. Okay, we're on the play. We'll try again. Whew. It'd be nice when I can worry more about the games and less about the Modo operations. But we'll get there eventually. So what does this hand do? This hand makes a 1-drop into 2 1-drops. Or a 2-drop. Yeah, this hand seems pretty good, to be honest. Play this. We have no interest in anything other than a Bayou here. Sorry, we have no interest in the Bayou here, sorry. We just want to get the forest. We just want to play out our 2-power guy first. So if they have a Monastery Swift Spear, it can't attack on turn 1, which is why this is the best of the plays I can make. Is there a way I can make it so? Okay, but if they have a Goblin Guide, they can. Do I want to trade with a Goblin Guide? I don't think so. I think I can race the Goblin Guide. A Heritage Druid. Okay, we can definitely race the Goblin Guide here then. Let's not declare any blockers. Okay, so we have this. So if we play out the Birchlaw Ranges, we can tap these 2 for mana. So we play out the Birchlaw Ranges. Yeah, okay, so this is going to attack for 3 this turn if I've mapped out my turn correctly. We play this. So we tap 2 elves, add green. So 1, 2, that's 3. So we play out the Heritage Druid here. Yes, this is good. I would like to untap my Nettle Sentinel. And then we can tap 2 to make, tap 3 to make this. Untap the Nettle Sentinel. Okay, and then we tap these 3 to make an Allosaurus Shepherd. And draw a card off of the Leaf Crowned Elder. We don't have any other plays. I think I'm going to tap for 3. Next turn we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So we only need to tap just the Birchlaw Ranges. So we have lethal next turn. This would be a bad turn to get hit by a Fury, but whether or not Burn plays Fury, I don't know, because it seems counterintuitive to the Burn plan of worrying about the board. I would assume my opponents... I can always just activate this, and these guys are all enormous as well. So I have... So if they have a Burn spell, they'll probably use it on the Allosaurus Shepherd. But then I can still kill them. Like, I think if they're in their position, they have to use... Because at most they can do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage here. So I think if they have a burn spell, they have to point it at the Allosaurus Shepherd. Unless they have some sort of particularly unusual tech that they've brought in against me. Eidolon of the Great Revel is their play, which doesn't impact me at all. They can still Fire Blast my guy, but that doesn't seem to do what they want. Let's have a look at what's on top of my library. A Gaia's Cradle. Okay. We will not be blocking this turn. You kind of get to have everything this turn, I think. Okay. So we'll add green, and we'll play this. We'll keep this one. We'll add some more green. We'll play this. Yes, I'd like to untap my Nettle Sentinel. All my creatures are very large and have trample. Okay, so that one. I did make a misplay in the second game, but I pulled it out by smashing down really hard in the third. So, all right, let's go on to the next round. Okay, I'm into the third round, I think it is, and this is my opening hand. So this hand has most of the things I want, to be honest. I need a payoff, but I have a Green Sun Zenith that can find me an Allosaurus Shepherd. I have a Once Upon a Time as well, so I'm going to keep this. And I'm going to play out... I think I'm always playing out a forest here first. So I'm going to play out the forest, and then I'm going to play out the Once Upon a Time. Let's have a look. So we have Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinel. Considering we have two of the Mana Elves, I think we take the Nettle Sentinel here. And then we have a choice. We can either try and accelerate with the Green Sun Zenith, or we can play out one of my guys. I think the best thing to do here is to just play out a Nettle Sentinel. So that means they know these are all the cards they've seen as well, so they don't know what's in my hand, whereas if they knew I had a Nettle Sentinel, it might change how they evaluate my other cards. So this gives them the least amount of information to play their turn with. My opponent's got a Misty Rainforest, so this could be some sort of... Okay, so it's a tropical island, a volcanic island. Okay, so it's just straight up Delver. I see. So this is a matchup where I'm going to want Endurances in for. I don't think I want the Ley Lines of the Void. I think those are a bit too much for this matchup because they're such blank draws. Whereas Endurance tangles really well with their 2/1 mana threats, as well as being a way of shuffling away their graveyard and disabling Murktides and Channelers. So we're probably playing out into... yeah, we're probably playing out into Daze at some point this turn. Let's see if this resolves first. Okay, so we're just going to keep casting spells. Okay, so we have the option here of tapping to make 3 mana and going and finding the Lord, which I think is what we want to do here. We're going to cast this where X is 2. X is currently 2, yes. I would like to untap my Nettle Sentinel, please. We're going to attack with Nettle Sentinel this turn. I'm assuming I'm getting dazed here, but... it could be anything. It could be a Force of Will. Okay, so we just got it. So I think... So we have a choice. We can either get the Visionary to try and draw more, or we can get the Leaf Crown Visionary, which I think is better, because it'll let us draw more on following turns. But I think we're just going to attack for 3 here, and we should be able to race their beats here. Well, obviously, all claims are null and void in the world of Murktide Regent. But next turn we can play a Heritage Druid and draw a card, and then go from there. We still have, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power. So we've got a 2-turn clock already, without doing any of the really broken stuff. Tapping your guys for mana the turn they come into play is pretty broken to me, but it's no natural order for Create Behemoth type broken, or Gaia's Cradle, Allosaurus Shepherd. So the Unholy Heat on that guy. Okay, so not going to draw a card off of that guy. Are they going to attack with their Insectile Aberration? I imagine they have to here, yes? Yeah, okay, sure. So they have End the Festivities in the sideboard, which is going to make the Leaf Crown guy a lot better than some of the options that other decks are playing. Okay, so the Wasteland, they could burn it on the Bayou here, which I think is a mistake potentially because you want to save it for the really scary things. Oh, this is an interesting one. So if I'm going to play this Heritage Druid first, I think. Cast this Heritage Druid. I would like to untap my Nettle Sentinel. They have 5 cards in hand. Okay. So now I would like to tap 3 untap elves. We're going to tap this one, because this one's about to untap anyway, and this one, I think. And we're going to play this. We're going to untap our Nettle Sentinel and get in for another 3. We could get in for 5 here, I think, actually. Sure. Yeah, we attack with all creatures. Get in for 5. If Murktide Regent comes along, we're going to have to use some wits and cunning to get around them. So we'll play this out. And then we are done. So we have a lot of power on the board. So if our opponent is trying to rely on okay, so they're not going to Murktide Regent this turn. So they are quite far behind now. Murktide Regent is the only thing that really stops it because it works as the Abyss if I want to attack. And it lets them chip away for a little bit. Okay, so they're not even attacking with the Delver and they don't have another follow-up land. Okay, so we have a Green Sun Zenith here. So what do we want to find with a Green Sun Zenith? We can find another Leaf Crown Visionary and just make our guys bigger. That seems quite nice. So we have to tap 3 guys here, I think. So we'll tap this one. We don't want to tap the Leaf Crown Visionary. And we probably don't want to attack with the Birchlaw Rangers this turn. We'll cast this. 1, 2, 3. X is 2. Just going to get another Lord. Okay, so we're getting a Force of Will on this. Sure. So now we have a choice of whether or not we attack with 2 guys here. I think we attack with these 2. Either of them is a trade, and either of them is I'm fine to trade with the Delver when they had no pressure on board. Problem is now they can do the Murktide, which is another reason to do this, which means I can try and go wider because their life total is lower in the first place. Whereas I can't do that if I have a Murktide Regent, which would have to stay on blocks. Okay, so Dragon's Rage Channeler, that's fine. It has to attack every turn, so I can always just let it attack 1 turn and then swing around it if needs be. Okay, so Windswept Heath isn't really what we wanted to see. I don't think we actually attack this turn, but we will play this so we can go and find a Dryad Arbor if we need to. It's going to have to sit back for this turn. And then the following turn, this will have to attack. So they're going to have to find something to block with this turn. Obviously, they have the ability to see a lot more cards. Okay, so they're casting a Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure. Again, I don't need it. Like, all of my creatures draw me a card at this point. Well, not all of my creatures, the Wildwood Symbiotes don't, but whenever all my elves draw me a card. So it's not past my end step. Okay, let's crack this. We don't want to draw a Dryad Arbor either, so if we get this out of the deck, that'll be quite nice. An Allosaurus Shepherd, you say? I'm in the market for an Allosaurus Shepherd. I'm going to cast this. I'd like to put this ability on the stack. Yes. Okay. Can't be countered. That's a pretty good one. I'm going to tap 3 elves, so we'll tap this one that can't attack. This one, we're going to cast another elf. I'm going to draw a card. Sure. Doesn't really do much this turn. So you can make 1, 2, 3 mana. Cast Glimpse. 4. Yeah, I can't do anything with the Allosaurus Shepherd this turn. I don't want to attack into this and just lose my guy, especially as they both have to attack next turn. Like even if they have double lightning bolt in hand, they still don't kill me. So I think this is fine because these have to attack, so they won't have any blockers. So I think if they don't deploy a Murktide Regent this turn, I think they lose the game. Sure. So I take 6. Okay, sure. A 1/1. That does not bother me. What do we do here? So this blocks the biggest guy. We take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they should be dead on the board here. Can't think of what instant speed things they would have that are free. I think we're just going to send all of my guys. So if they block this, we take 2. So take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So if we attack with all creatures instead of this, just in case something happens. Sure. Okay, so we won the first game. Excellent. To sideboarding. I think the endurances are good here. I think the Scavenging Ooze is good here. I think the Natural Order plan here is a trap, and I don't want to play it. Like, you can try and board in, like, Thoughtseize and stuff, maybe, but I'm not sure if that's really where I want to be. So these are also potential options if we need them, if we just want to be able to kill a guy. Because I can take 4 damage if it's going to prevent 6 damage, which is often going to be the case. So I think Dismembers are fine here. Grist is actually a nice little engine that causes them a little bit of problems. Other than that, I think we're right, because obviously the counter spells, if I have an Allosaurus Shepherd, don't do anything, so they're always going to be around for a Natural Order. I think we have to keep the Crate Hoof as a tutor target though, so we probably don't get to keep the Dismembers here. I think we use Endurances to be like 3 mana Dismembers. This also means that a lot of the cards I'm playing are sort of must answers for them, and if I can get any of these in play, I can stop Murktide Regent, which is the thing that will probably kill me if it happens. I'm going to submit like this. It could be wrong, but we'll play how it fits and see. So the other option would be the Dismembers. I don't think Thoughtseize are good in this matchup because I don't need to punch a hole through in a world of Allosaurus Shepherd. I can just keep making guys. The thing that Thoughtseize can do is find things like End the Festivities and get rid of them. But this is what the Leaf Crown Visionary is supposed to be good against. You're supposed to be able to get multiple of these out and keep your guys alive. Is the plan. I'm not sure if that works necessarily, because this is only a 1/1. If this is a 2/2, it'd be a lot better, but I think this is a fine plan, and I'm going to go with it. So this is our opening hand, and we're keeping it. I think the opponent is... so they've started with 6 cards. Sure. They also might have Submerging, which means my maths for doing a lethal swing have to be slightly different. But that's fine. If we're in a position where we're looking at lethal swings, I think we're probably doing A-OK. So we saw the Unholy Heats, we saw Delver, so the chances of them having a Ledger Shredder are very small, so it's probably just the standard 12 creature package. So they're going to draw off their Bauble. We're going to play out this Windswept Heath. We're going to crack it, go and find ourselves a basic forest. A lovely white bordered forest. We're going to play a Nettle Sentinel because this one doesn't die to end the festivities. And it allows me to slightly race. Okay, so they're just setting themselves back a turn. That's fine to me. Sure. They have less cards in hand than me as well because they mulliganed and were on the play. So if they want to trade 1 for 1 for a 1-drop like that and sent themselves back a turn when every 1 mana I have is another spell is pretty good for me. If they'd have made a 1 mana threat, that entire play would have been different. But because they had the Ponder instead. Okay, so we know they have a duel in hand as well. Dragon's Rage Channeler, sure. Oh, sorry, it was a Steam Vents they had, wasn't it? Yeah. Which they bounced, which is quite a high cost as well. So they have a Dragon's Rage Channeler that's already got the ability. The Delirium. So you can save this. So this plays into Wasteland, which I don't mind them doing because they're already low on cards. I think we'll play out the Nettle Sentinel first. Okay, that resolved quite quickly. Play out the Birchlaw Rangers. The Force of Willing Birchlaw Rangers, that's interesting to me. So they've basically pitched most of their hand at this point to try and deal with to deal with some 1-drops. Interesting. Again, there is the push and pull of wanting to get that done before Allosaurus Shepherd comes into play. They are ahead slightly at the moment on the race, but I have more cards in hand. I have the Wirewood Symbiote, which can protect against burn spells if needs be. So I think what we're doing now is... Okay, so there's the Steam Vents. Again, that's going to help my trying to clock them, but if they're playing it, they might have a Murktide region here. They got the Murktide. Looks like they're paying costs, so yes. Okay, so they have the card that some people don't think should be in the format. Let's have a look. Okay, so what is the play this turn? I think we play a Quirion Ranger. I think we play a Wirewood Symbiote. And so if we play this out and get a Dryad Arbor for next turn, we'll have 4 mana, 5, 6, 7 mana. So 2 mana goes to get the Allosaurus Shepherd. Then I can return a forest, untap the Dryad Arbor, and that's enough to swing for lethal next turn with the Allosaurus Shepherd. No, it isn't, because that's not an elf. It's only these two that are elves. So that'll be 5, 10, 11. So that won't be enough. But we don't want to draw this, the Dryad Arbor. So I think we let this go for a turn. We can't attack into the Murktide region, obviously. So we take 6 this turn and potentially 9 the following turn. So we might be able to survive multiple attack steps here. Obviously, if they can remove stuff, so it makes my endurances awkward if they put cards in because it'll pump their creature. Okay, so they have the... Okay, so we're going to crack this. End of turn. Get the Dryad Arbor, which we don't want to draw. And then we're going to see them wasteland it, perhaps. They did not wasteland it. Interesting. Which is interesting to me. So if we play Nettle Sentinel. Let's see how they react to Nettle Sentinel. They have 1 card in hand, so it can't be Force of Will. Well, it could be Force of Will, but it can't be a Force of Will that they can cast. Okay, so now we play this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this taps for 5. This taps for 6. So Create Hoof Behemoth is 8, so we need 9 mana if we want to try and win with Create Hoof Behemoth this turn. So we get 2 untaps So we can untap this twice more, which gives us 6, 7, 8. This would be the 9th mana. So we don't play around days if we do that. So that's the question. Do we play around days this turn, or do we get the Allosaurus Shepherd? I don't think we can play around days here. Sure. Untap type creature. This is the creature I'd like to untap, and I'm going to return this Elf of Summoning Sick. If they have a removal spell here, we will see it. Because the wasteland kind of means I have to go this turn, really. So they're wastelanding this, are they? So we're going to return a forest I control, untap type creature. Return this forest. We're going to add green. So getting rid of our cradle. Interesting. So this untaps. Hopefully, maybe. This is 8. This is 9. We can't play a forest this turn. So we cast this where X is 8. Do they have the days? If they don't have the days, they die. Unholy Heat, targeting a Nettle Sentinel. Sure. That should be fine. Because they're already on quite a low life total here. Creative Behemoth. This is 9. This is, so this is 19 damage, and it's got trample, so they take 18 this turn. Well, we managed to beat the menace of the formats. That's not bad. Let's go on to another round, shall we? All right, this is my opening hand for round 4, and I am on the draw. So we have a land that can go and fetch us a Dryad Arbor. We have double Cradle, so we're insulated that way. We might not even need to get it because we off anything off of here because we've got some 1-drops, so we're going to keep this hand and see how it plays out. My opponent's played a Yavimaya, which usually means green-white. Sorry, not green. Yeah, green-white depths is the most common deck that that's in, I believe. So we're going to get a basic forest here. So we have two options here. We can just play as many creatures as possible. So turn 1, we get the Dryad Arbor this turn, and then we play out these things. Or we can... considering this is a wasteland deck, I don't think I want to expose the Dryad Arbor just yet. So I'm actually going to just play out a Wirewood Symbiote, I think. That makes all of my other... That means I have to remove this rather than wait for the other ones, because this blanks removal on elves. So I play this one out first, and then when I play these, they can't kill them until they kill this one. So next turn we can play out, hopefully, some more creatures, and we can play the Cradle out as a wasteland target for our opponent potentially if we need to, because we have 2. So we might force them to crop rotation into a wasteland to stop me. So we can use their resources on something I have redundant copies of. Okay, so we have... It is definitely looking like that particular deck that I mentioned earlier, the Green-White Depths deck. Prismatic Ending, sure. Okay, another natural order isn't really what we want here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast this guy. So I can use this guy to replay my forest if I don't want to expose my Cradle. However, if I do want to expose my Cradle because my opponent's on 4 cards, I might get a crop rotation out of the deal, which seems all right to me. I think we'll play this. We'll tap this for green. This also taps for green under the... we don't need to tutor for a broken piece of this now because we have double natural order. No, we don't want to do that. We want to... Yeah, we just want to cast it for this. Yeah, that's right. Just want to go and get a Dryad Arbor to pump up our Cradle. Like, this could be a blue deck. It is possible that it's some sort of Zenith pile, but the leading on this and still not having a blue source at this point in the game is very unusual for any blue deck. Obviously, they don't have the most amount of cards in hand, so maybe it's just not gone their way. But you would imagine a blue deck would mulligan so it can cast blue spells, because blue spells are the best spells, let's be honest. Alright, so our opponent is... Are they going to make a land drop this turn? Green White Depths deck, even on less cards, should have... Okay, it's a Festman Stage. So they are what I pinned them on with the Yavimaya. So they're crop rotating now. So this could go and get a Wasteland to hit my Cradle, which is what I think they should do, but is also the wrong play. Okay, they're just going straight for the 2020, are they? Okay. So that means I need to try and win the game this turn. That's going to be a little bit challenging. How do we go about winning this game? It's a big ask. Have they got an upkeep effect as well? That would be problematic for me. Okay, so they went for their combo instead, which means I should have a free turn here. Well, obviously it's under quite some pressure. So look, if we draw... We want to draw a 1-mana elf. A Nettle Sentinel would be good because we can tap it and untap it and try and generate something else. More mana here. We need a glimpse into Heritage Druid would also be fine. Okay, so my opponent has finally let me have a turn. So we add green with this. We cast our Heritage Druid. So the plan here is to play enough elves that 3 creatures is lethal. So we tap this for green. Is that right? We tap that for green, return a forest. We still have enough for Visionary. I think we have to tap this now, unfortunately. Sure. So we play this Elvish Visionary out. Be nice if I'd have been able to get one more creature into play first. So we drew the Behemoth, which is not a great draw. Oh, jeez. We didn't have a choice there because we didn't have enough guys. So if we just played this out and then activated, we'd only have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we were one short. So we had to play this creature out. And it would have been lethal if we'd have drawn anything other than the Kraytooth Behemoth. So now... untap target creature. So this can tap for mana. Maybe I can bait them into conceding. So tap this, return a forest, untap this guy, untap this forest. And play this guy as Corridor. I would like to keep the untapped one, please. So if we tap for each creature we control, it gives us 6 mana, and this gives us 7, 8. So this will give us another 3 mana. So it'll give us 9 mana. So that's 8. I'm trying to think if there's any way we can get around this. I think we cast this, sacrifice the Visionary, and then we see if they scoop. to what I'm doing here. What is this guy do? You may sacrifice it. Destroy type creature. It's not going to deal with an indestructible guy. This doesn't have flying. I can get another Elvish Visionary and draw a card, but I don't see how that's going to help. So I'm not going to have the mana. If I get a Nettle Sentinel, I tap for 3. That's not going to be enough. Oh, drawing this Craterhoof Behemoth has cost me the game in a big way here. I can't see a line to win here. And okay, let's just draw another card. There's no way I could gain life either. So we'll cast this elf. And then if we tap these 3 elves, that gives us 3 mana. And then we're dead because we're going to get hit by the 2020. Oh, Craterhoof Behemoth. I had to win. Right, let's go to sideboard. They are a Life from the Loam deck. Endurance deals with Life from the Loam. It also can block for a turn. I'm into blocking for a turn. Collector Roof can stop a little bit of graveyard shenanigans. And Collector Roof can stop Mox Diamonds and Expedition Maps if they have them. Reclamation Sage will usually find targets in this matchup because they want to be playing things like Sylvan Library. Scavenging Ooze also has the additional factor of buying you a turn if you go over 20 life. The Progenesis is bad here. I don't even think it should be in the deck, to be honest. If this was a second Craterhoof, I think it would just be better. I don't think the Collector Roof is good enough. I think the Endurances are fine. They could have Pernicious Deed if they splash black, but that seems unlikely. They've got loads of good white removal already. So if we cut these 2, that just leaves us finding 2 more cuts. The natural orders are good here because we want to do that. Grist can kill their knight, which is something that we're kind of in the market for, but not especially. It can also make loads and loads of chump blockers, which is something I am not opposed to. How good are the Visionaries going to be? Depends if they're playing a grindy game or not, really. I think that Once Upon a Time here, because it can find our endurance if we need it, it's probably worth keeping. So it probably is the Grist and a Leaf Crowned Elder, because they're a little bit slower, and we have the bounce engines anyway to grind a little bit more, and we're adding in 3 drops, so we want to take out some higher curve stuff. We don't want to mess with our low curve that we rely on. We're going to submit this. Okay, this is my opening hand. It seems suitable. We'll keep it. I'm going to be annoyed about that little bad beat of drawing the Craterhoof. Oh well. What's the point of playing Magic if you don't get bad beat stories out of it? Okay, so into my draw step. Now I've kept the hand. So we're going to play this out. We don't have any black spells in the deck, so we're going to get a basic forest because they're a wasteland deck. I don't want to get stung by wasteland and be back to 0. They should be keeping their wastelands, things like Cradle. So that's basic forest. So now we have the choice. I think we're actually going to play out the Nettle Sentinel this time, for the purposes of Birchall Ranger rather than the Symbiote. Although the Symbiote is more likely to hit a removal spell. This gives me a better turn 2 if it resolves. Obviously, it has to resolve and survive a turn. I've got myself a Savannah. And then Prismatic Ending. Sure. Pretty similar start to how the last game went. A land would be good to draw here. Allosaurus Shepherd. That's a pretty good one. So this is an interesting one here because I don't really want to play out my lands if I can help it just yet. This is an interesting one. We play out the... So you can play out the Shepherd, play the Cradle, play the Rangers, play the Symbiote. But then we've got this Glimpse of Nature that's not really doing anything at that point. But I don't think we have the option to really play a different sort of game here. I could be mistaken. Okay, so I think we play out the Cradle, tap this for green, play out the Rangers. So what we can do as well, if we have the Symbiote, is we can bounce creatures to feed our Glimpse of Nature if we want to. So we can tap these, bounce, replay it, so generate a mana the whole time as well. Because we'll be untapping a creature. So he didn't play a Wasteland, so that's very good news for me. If they're casting a white spell, they're probably going to be Prismatic Ending. So this is an interesting one. So I can bounce my Birchlaw Ranger here to get a draw off the Glimpse of Nature. Or I can just, I think we just let this go. That could be wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't really want to just try and win the game with a Great Hoof immediately. Okay, so Reclaimer. So they're on a slightly slower hand this time, which is good for us. But they seem to have a decent chunk of removal. But any creatures here are good. A Green Sun Zenith is not a creature, but what it is an Elvish Visionary, which I can draw a card off of. I don't hate that. So I'm not attacking this turn. Yes, I think we have to tap this anyway. So we may as well tap like this. So this could be an Elvish Visionary, or it could be one of the Lords. If I get one of the Lords, I can attack this turn. But if I get a Visionary, I might find another card I can draw for next turn, ready for lethal natural order, which I think is how I'm winning this game. So I don't think I'm going to be nickel and diming them for little bits. It's going to be play out all my guys and bash them. The fact that they didn't remove any of my creatures last turn gives me that impression. So if we get the Elvish Visionary, it's an immediate draw step. Okay, so we have another Cradle, which is good news. I can't do anything with it this turn. But we can, if we want to next turn, we can activate Allosaurus Shepherd and crash for 15 just with these guys. Or if we draw a green creature, well, if we draw a creature, because the creature's green, I can natural order for lethal. Obviously, there are instances they can have, like Source to Plowshares, for example. So if I were them, I'd be thinking about whether or not they want to get a Wasteland and deal with my Cradle to stop me doing anything untoward. Okay, so Jury Step. Okay, it's interesting. I think it's just the land they have, so they're probably going to... Well, you're going to sacrifice the Flagstones first anyway, because it's just a better land to sacrifice. Alright, so that's their end of combat step. That's interesting to me, they're holding mana open. So they can be holding it open for Elvish Reclaimer, or they can be holding it open for something else. So we are going to... I think we're going to... Is this necessary? I think we're going to cast Glimpse of Nature. Let's see if we get any movement from the opponent. Just going to this, and we're going to cast this, and we're going to draw 2 cards. We would like to get additional creatures so that we're lethal regardless. Would be nice. They could have some sort of what's it called? Glacial Chasm, which is something you don't see in these decks generally, but it's within the realms of possibility. This is certainly interesting for dealing with Glacial Chasm. So I think if we play out this land, we choose to keep this one. And we tap this for 4, so we have 5 mana here. I'd quite like to get another elf into play first, but I think I need them all for attacks. So I think we're just going to play this, and we're going to cast Natural Order, and we're going to sacrifice this Elvish Visionary. And we're going to get Craterhoof Behemoth. We're going to make all our guys massive, and we're going to see if they have Glacial Chasm or not. If they do have Glacial Chasm, I can Besage you it. It does look like they do have it, in fact. Okay, sure. Chasm. Sure. So they'll pay 2 life, and then next turn I can hopefully kill them with my Besage, because they're definitely not going to have multiples. They can copy it, but that requires a lot of mana. I'm still annoyed about game 1, if I'm honest. Oh well. Okay, so they're quite far away from killing me at least, so I've definitely got turns. And they didn't play a Wasteland this turn, and they can only get Wastelands with crop rotation rather than this guy, because the lands that this guy gets into play, they are tapped when they come into play. So if you haven't seen this thing, creatures you control can't attack, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you, but it's got cumulative upkeep. So there's a trick where you use Thespian Stage to basically copy it, so you can kind of loop it in play. But what's going to happen to them is they're going to get, well, hopefully they're going to get Besaged and lose. But we have to see what they're tapping, because they can have all sorts of shenanigans. This is probably going to be a Dryad Arbor. Yep, there you go. So they're just getting enough mana so that they can combo by having enough lands in play. Sylvan Library, that's fine. So what would be a good draw here? An Elvish Visionary. So this taps for 4 mana, which means it can cast me an Elvish Visionary and a Besage, which is interesting. Doesn't quite do what's required. So I think we're going to go for a lethal swing. So we're going to play this guy first. And then we're going to play out this guy. And we're going to pay with this to just keep drawing cards. In the hopes that we can blow it up and kill them in one swing. This is nice to draw. I want to play this. Do we need a Dryad Arbor? I don't know if we're going to need a Dryad Arbor, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap these 2 elves for green to cast my guy here. And then we're going to tap 2 other elves. We're going to tap this one for green. So I'm going to tap this one and this one to draw another card. Okay, so we've got a backup Cradle, which is one of the ways we could lose this game. So next turn we can Cradle my team use the Allosaurus Shepherd next turn, Besage you the Glacial Chasm, because we want to be able to do it in one turn in case they life him alone. There's no point attacking with this guy because he doesn't do anything. This can go and get a Dried Arbor in case I need an additional body. They're also on the paying life thing. Okay, so they're paying the life. That just makes my life even easier. Hopefully. I don't think they can win here. They might be able to tutor. We kind of ideally need them to tap out so they tutor, so they can't tutor using crop rotation for a Thespian stage to copy their Glacial Chasm. Alternatively, we can wait until they have to pop the chasm, but they should be able to assemble their combo then and be able to kill me in the air because I don't have an endurance available. If I had an endurance in my hand, I could think about that play, but I think what we do next turn is make a boatload of mana, make my guys enormous, and then blow up their Glacial Chasm and kill them. So we can always attack and wait to blow up the Glacial Chasm and see how they react, which is always a fun one. So they're only on 12, so 3 creatures will be enough. So they have 1, 2 blockers. So at the moment, they are well behind on that front. Although I thought I was in a great position in game 1 to win the game, but sacrifice a land, target creature you control gains shroud until end turn. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't give their shrouds, their land shroud, so I'm happy about that. It's just the 1/1. The Wasteland. So they're going to hit the Cradle now, I would assume, and they're tapping their mana. They're tapping out of green mana. This is excellent. This is what we want. So they should Wasteland my Cradle here. Yep, sure. Now, do I need to get a Dryad Arbor with this? I don't think I do. But I think we definitely yeah, I think we do get the Dryad Arbor. That makes sense here. Yeah, we get the Dryad Arbor. Just in case we need 1 extra point of damage for some reason. Okay. So we play this land. We play. Do we need to play an Allosaurus Shepherd? Is that being greedy? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to add this. I'm going to cast Besage you, targeting Glacial Chasm. And then we're going to make all my guys massive. This should be the concession, I hope. We can go to game 3. All my guys are going to be slightly bigger as well because of elves. Because this, it makes their base power and toughness 5. Oh, but they become dinosaur. In addition, yes, it'll be dinosaur elves. Sure. So what they can do here is get a land that makes green, so they can make their crop rotation happen. So they shouldn't have a second Glacial Chasm. No, okay, cool. So we go into. So I should have won this game if I hadn't have drawn the Crow who've beat him off the Elvish Visionary last turn. So if that Elvish Visionary had been any other elf in my deck, I would have won that first round. So now we have to go back to the well. Kind of into the old grist. Looked like they sort of ended up slightly grindier that game. So maybe the grist and the Reclamation Sage are interesting to me. I like the grist though. I think we want the grist. Question is, what are we boarding out for the grist? I don't think we're going to be glimpsing that much here. So I think we can trim a glimpse because we kind of need to commit to the board a little bit. And it's a case of is glimpse better than Leaf Crown Visionary? Which is hard to say actually because this is a body on board, so it makes mana. This could be wrong. If I only have 1, I can always still tutor for it though. So maybe the glimpse is right here. I don't know. We'll try the glimpse. Like, they're not a blue deck, so we don't have to worry about the glimpse being counted. But they can restrict my mana. Okay, so this is the opening hand I've been dealt. So we'd have to play Besage you as a regular land. and then play out an Allosaurus Shepherd. Then the next turn, we get to do some interesting things. I think we're going to keep this and hope we draw a forest, I think. In an ideal world, I don't want to cast this Besage at any point. I don't want to play this Besage as a land. I want to hold it for breaking their Glacial Chasm. Sure. So we're going to play out an Allosaurus Shepherd first, I think. If we have to play the Besage as a land, we have to. But hopefully we'll draw a forest. We did not draw a forest. So this is slightly awkward for me. But we're going to play out the Allosaurus Shepherd because we've got redundancy on those, so we don't mind if they get killed. Next turn we play out Heritage Druid. Tap Gaia's Cradle. And can play some more stuff. And we're basically setting up for a turn 3 natural order. Yeah, a turn 3 lethal natural order should be alright. Okay, so there's a prismatic ending that we're expecting on the Allosaurus Shepherd. So the Cradle doesn't feel great here, and they have the ability to tutor for the combo next turn, so I don't have that many turns left to try and win this game. So I'm about to draw a Crate Hoof Behemoth, because that's how we roll. Let's have a look. Okay, so we've got the basic forest, which is one of the cards we wanted. I think we are just on the natural order plan here. We just have to race them. So I think we play the Allosaurus Shepherd and the Heritage Druid. Or we can play the Wirewood Symbiote, actually. That gives us a way to defend our Allosaurus Shepherd. So you have 3 creatures. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you have to have a 4th creature in play, which I can do next turn with these. So I have lethal on board, but if they have a 20/20, I obviously can't block it. I obviously can't go around it, so I might need to gain some additional damage there because they can block the biggest guy. But we can always have a glimpse turn next turn if things go very well for us. So we're not dead on our next turn, on their next turn. I think we're dead the turn after, unless they have a way of cheating mana. I think we should be okay. Because this gets the combo, but then it's tapped. And they need an additional mana for it. Okay, so now this gets the combo, and they still don't have the mana for it, if I've done my maths correctly. So these die. So these two does this come in tapped or untap? Tapped. Okay, yeah, so they can't do it this turn. So I think my maths holds. So I get another step to make many guys, hopefully. So this needs to be a big turn for me. So I have a bonus Cradle in case my Cradle gets wastelanded. So we're going to cast Glimpse of Nature. It's usually a good way to start a big turn. Okay, so we've got the Endurance, which is an interesting one. So I can return it after you control to its own hand and tap target creature. So I can play this out, and I can play an Endurance and draw a card of my Endurance now. How does that impact things? Or we can try and if we Endurance, what can we find? We can bounce this and draw cards. Is that going to be better than drawing an Endurance? I don't think so. I think we just cast the Endurance and get a card out of it. We target our opponent, just in case they're life from the lone deck. It's one less thing. It's not really much of a difference, but means I can draw Prismatic Ending. So he just drew another land. So unfortunately, I don't have any more elves to continue the chain. So we keep this further away from being able to win the game, I suppose. We have a blocker if we need it. So the plan here is to try and kill them next turn. If they get a... oh, so they've got the crop rotation, have they? I see. So they don't have enough to activate it right now. Unless they have an Elvish Spirit Guide. Oh no, they got the mana floating, haven't they? Okay, so my Endurance has to block for a turn. And then so they got 2 cards in hand. I need them to not be Swords to Plowshares. Prismatic Ending doesn't do it, I don't think. If they can't kill me this turn. Okay, so they can Wasteland my Cradle, which they'll probably think is a good play. Oh, they can just go get Sajiri step, can't they? Oh. Sure, I lose because I drew Crate Hoof Behemoth in game 1. That's so infuriating. Yeah, so I couldn't win last turn. I needed to buy another turn. I don't think casting this at instant speed would have made a difference because they would just hold this up anyway. So getting the extra card doesn't make any difference to how my opponent plays. Maybe they'll choose the wrong colour. No, they chose the correct colour. Sure, so that's me dead. Sure. So I lost that game because my deck basically lost me the game by giving me the one card in my entire deck that cost me, which is annoying. I think that makes us 2-2 now, so we're playing for our money back now. All right, on to the next round. So this is my opening hand. It has no 1-drops, apart from Glimpse, which isn't, strictly speaking, a 1-drops. It's not a turn 1 play, so we're going to mulligan this hand. This opening hand has a load of stuff in it, which sounds great to me. I'm going to keep this. I don't think I need all of these lands. I think the Yavimaya is probably the biggest liability because it can potentially... My opponent's already mulliganed 6, so I don't want to help them out in any way. So our opponent's Polluted Delta into Swamp. That's unusual. So this could be... okay, so they're going to Thoughtseize me. They're probably going to take my Glimpse of Nature. But this could be... Doomsday would be my immediate thought. But it could be a whole host of things. We'll find more information as the game goes on. Okay, so we're going to play this. We don't need any black mana at this game, I don't think. We're going to play this Forest. Tap it for green. And we're going to play... And we'll play the Heritage Druid out. So the aim is to try and play Birchall Rangers or Heritage Druid Birchall's Rangers next turn with Wirewood Symbiote. Ideally, if we can get some sort of payoff or just something to generate some card advantage, even if it's just an Elvish Visionary or the Lord, that would be good. So we have Cradle here. Just going to activate this and play this. We're playing it into days because I'm less sure about wanting to play this out straight away. I think we have to play it though. Probably didn't need to. Okay, so most decks don't run Sweep as main deck, so I'm pretty confident I can just play all my guys, and that's the game plan of this deck anyway. So tap all my guys to make sure I've got excess mana in case I need to cast a round of days that I should have played around earlier as well. Okay, so now we're Hellbent, but Natural Order wins us the game, which is nice. Obviously, we have to resolve it. Also, the Green Sun Zenith is pretty good here, as is Allosaurus Shepherd. We play Allosaurus Shepherd and play a land. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, 6 mana. So we attack for 15, 16 next turn. So we have lethal if we draw Allosaurus Shepherd, and that's all uncounterable. So you can certainly see the appeal to this deck. Okay, so they are some kind of bug pile by the looks of things. Swamp Brainstorm. They could be like Ad Nauseam Tendrils. That has that array of cards in. You don't see Ad Nauseam Tendrils very often because it's just worse than the Epic Storm at the moment. I don't think trying to cantrip lots is where you want to be when everyone's doing more powerful things. Okay, so I win. So that gives me the impression that maybe they are a Storm deck. Because I didn't really have anything going on. So that's very wild to me that they've just conceded. So in this... Okay, they just completely conceded the entire game. Okay, maybe their Elves matchup isn't very good. So we got our money back. So there we go. And we got... let's have a look at the deck. Okay, so this is the deck we played. My immediate thoughts, as you can probably imagine, is the Progenitus. Why is it in the deck? I don't really think it's a good card in this assembly anymore. There's a card called Archon of... there's a card called Archon of Valor's Reach, I think it is, which is a 6 mana, 5/6 flying vigilance trample. When it comes into play, you name a card type. Players can't play cards of the name type. I think that would probably be more effective than Progenitus in a lot of situations because it comes in and you name the thing that's going to remove it, which usually when you're bringing in Progenitus is because you want to stop certain spells, but it also gives you utility against Storm decks and things because you can name Sorcery and then cut them off of all of their plays, or you can name Artifact against some stuff. So I think that might be better main deck than Progenitus. Although I know when I was looking through lists earlier that I think Eli Cassis was running 2 Crater Hoofs in the main. If I was running 2 Crater Hoofs in the main, I would have 4-1 this league. As it was, I 3-2. But obviously, you know, results have to be taken with a pinch of salt because different things happen different ways. What I will say, though, is the Leaf Crown Visionary I liked. I thought it was good. It gave you a slightly different angle of attack. Next time I play Elves, I will probably run Leaf Crown Visionaries. I probably won't run Progenitus. The Grist never really came up. But again, it's a singleton to tutor for with Green Sun Zenith, and it doesn't rot in your hand the same way that Progenitus does because you can Birchdahl Rangers or use one of your 2 Bayous to cast it. So it's not out of the realms of possibility of being able to play. And sometimes you do need to kill an opponent's creature or just stonewall their guys with lots of tokens. Sideboard-wise, the sideboard all sort of made sense to me. I'm trying to think, like the Dismembers must be for decks that are bringing in Plague Engineer is the main thing I think, because the Leaf Crown Visionary, you need 2 of them to get around a Plague Engineer. It means you do have a plan to get around a Plague Engineer if you can get them down first, if you're playing against a black deck. But whether that's a realistic proposition, I don't really believe it is. But yeah, the Dismembers seem like they will definitely have matchups they come in for. Same with all these things. Again, if you wanted to change Progenitus out for like a singleton of one of these, that's also fine to me. Like the Reclamation Sage allows you to use your elf synergies, so it's going to be a reasonable draw still. It is a 3 mana 2/1, but a lot of decks have something it hits, and being able to tutor for it can be very nice. The Besagi was very good and won me a game. Unfortunately, I lost that round, even though I should have won if I hadn't drawn the Crave, which I'm never going to stop whining about. Other than that, yeah, I was quite happy with this deck. I had a really good fun time playing it. I certainly leaned into some combo turns here and there. I had that one turn where against Burn where I cast loads and loads of things. I managed to pull that one out, so that was good. Yeah, I enjoy this deck, and I hope you enjoyed watching me muddle my way through it. Alright, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe because I'm going to be doing Legacy content most days of the week. So if you say subscribe, you get to see me play all sorts of weird and wonderful, mainly combo oriented, or at least semi-combo decks. Alright, that's it. Thank you very much, and goodbye.